jealousy and anxious attachment style. In this video, we're gonna discuss how jealousy can impact your relationship, can make it harder for you to form healthy relationship. Obviously, after a breakup, sometimes we feel jealous when our partner is dating someone new. The idea of this video is to really help you reflect on these unhealthy and toxic ways of looking at attachment. I'll explain everything after the jingle.
IGetMyExBack.com. Everyone deserves a second chance.
So first of all, let's start with the root cause of this jealousy. What you have to do, and it's something that I do with my clients after a breakup, is looking at the relationship inventory, really reflecting on all your relationships, not only the previous one, but all your relationship, and understand the common things, the trends. Perhaps you've been through a difficult relationship in the past, potentially a traumatic relationship, or experiences of betrayal. The idea is to understand those past experiences because they will drive your perception of relationship. If you lost trust, if your partner cheated on you in the past, then you will always have this filter anytime you start a new relationship. It makes sense, right? Anytime we have an experience that informs us of the new reality, and so anytime something happens to us, it will update the way we perceive things in the future and situation. That's how we are designed, that's how we learn, that's how we evolve. The problem is that when we have a negative experience, it could make us more apprehensive and scared of trusting. It's really about trust, and I will explain how to overcome this in a second. So first of all, it's about solving your emotional wounds. In this context and the process, as a therapist, I know it well because that's what I do with my clients, is really about the baby steps. Very often, people get demotivated because they want to feel better, they want to feel amazing right away. And it takes some time. And by experience, you don't need to heal 100% to feel good. You don't need to heal 100% to be able to start a relationship, to be able to date someone, right? It's really about setting realistic goals. Again, baby steps, really deconstructing those mechanisms, and we'll discuss that later in the video. And learning to adding some new habits. I like the book Atomic Habits. If you don't know this book, I would recommend you to read it, but it's really about how you can stack new habits, replace negative ones with new ones, removing the friction, really trying to understand how you function, how you can switch off the automatic process. And so it's about how you can prioritize self-compassion and self-care, because it's probably something you're not doing at the moment and you haven't done in the past, especially if you have an anxious attachment style. Most people who have an anxious attachment style, they tend to spend a lot of energy and time thinking of how they can sort of please or take care of their partner, but they forget to take care of themselves. So in this process, it's also about being consistent and being patient. Back to the baby step. It's really about how you can make progress every single day, every single week. That will pay off down the line, but you won't get any massive result right away. I really want to set those expectations and be clear with this. So first of all, let's identify your triggers. Perhaps you can take a piece of paper, a journal, where you would write down anytime you feel you're triggered, where you feel a sense of jealousy. So perhaps it's when your partner receives a text, perhaps it's when you're not included in plans, perhaps it's when your partner spends some time with someone else. Write it down and try to analyze the patterns, try to understand what's going on in your mind when your partner, for example, receives a text. What does it remind you? Perhaps in the past, your ex or another of your partner cheated on you and he had an affair and he was texting his ex. And so it's, again, getting back to understanding what am I thinking? What is the thinking process behind that? By doing this exercise of really thinking deeply and analyzing those thoughts, you will be able to rationalize and create some distance, because it's really about creating a distance between emotion, between thoughts and what you want to achieve, i.e. respecting your partner's boundary. being more secure. It's a process, but it's really by doing that you're going to start this process. And so when you're triggered, my advice is to obviously find healthy coping mechanisms. So the initial reaction when we are jealous is to confront our partner, or is to cry, or is to really have a panic attack sometimes. What few tips that you can, strategies that you can use is, first of all, breathing. Breathing technique, cardiac coherence is something that will really calm you down. Breathing in deeply for 5 seconds, breathing out deeply for 5 seconds. It will actually change your brain structure when you do that. It's amazing how breathing is so efficient. It's so, people have kind of they're not reluctant when I tell this strategy, because it sounds so obvious, so simple, that people don't believe it works. But trust me, it does work. Google cardiac coherence. You can watch videos. I know on the Apple Watch, there's a feature when you can click on a button and you have like a 5 second, 5 second, 5 second. It does help you, and within 30 seconds, you will really calm down. Talking to someone. So, for instance, instead of confronting your partner, instead of venting, why don't you pick up your phone and call a friend? Why don't you discuss with someone on WhatsApp? Journaling, again, looking at how you can write those things down. It's by when you write something, you create automatically a distance. And when you create that distance, you shift from having your thoughts in your automatic, in your system one brain, to the system, to the rational brain, right? So what you have to do right now is to really assess regularly and reflect on those triggers, to really learn how you can sort of map out the times you're triggered and understand your emotion. Be attuned with your emotion. It's very important. There's an element here of emotional processing. So what does it say about you when you're jealous? It's obviously linked to your self-worth. If you're jealous, there's a little voice in your head. So that's the second step. First step is about the mechanics of what you do in the situation. Second step is really analyzing, trying to reflect and investigate, explore in what's going on. Very often there's a negative image of yourself, and the voice in your head could be, he or she can find better. Sometimes it's rooted in a deep fear of abandonment. He or she will leave me as soon as he or she can. Or sometimes that's you're in a constant competition. I need to prove my worth because the pool of people, of women or men that he could be attracted to is huge, and therefore I feel very insecure that I need to compete with everyone, right? Because I feel that person is not committed, therefore I'm competing with everyone. And so all those things could be also inherited from your childhood, whether it's abandonment, image of yourself, and this idea of constant competition. So when you start reflecting on your journal, try to reflect and ask yourself those questions about where does it come from? What was your relationship with jealousy as a kid? I will create a guide with more sort of prompt and details on how to structure those thoughts and journal. Have a look in the description. It will be free. I'm going to start doing those guides because I realize that when I do those videos, yes, it's great to listen. It's great to listen to my tips, but I also want to provide more materials as well that wouldn't necessarily be useful if I share a list or a PDF on a video format. It's not going to work. So have a look, download the PDF, it's totally free. Now, should you talk with your partner when you feel jealous? And this is really where it gets a bit tricky. So the problem is the danger of coming across as controlling or possessive, right? It's really the worst case scenario. When you do that, you're going to really actually create that self-fulfilling prophecy, pushing that person, pushing and sort of protesting the protest behavior of anxiously attached people that will push that partner away, where he or she will feel it's too much for me, I can't do that, I can't be there for you 24/7, I need to have my own life and I don't accept that you are always trying to control things. And so what you have to shift is, rather than being judgmental, rather than saying you're not spending time with me, you never include me in my plans, it's more about starting with vulnerability. I feel a certain way when you do this. that's a game changer. So using nonviolent communication principle will really shift the conversation to you're always doing this, you don't take care of me, to I feel in a certain way. And I want us to work out because I feel in a certain way, and therefore because I'm upset, because I'm sad, because I'm confused, I need your help. And let's have a conversation about that. And even if your partner is avoidant, when you start a conversation with this, it's way easier to come up with a solution that will work for both of you. And again, I will put a guide on non-violent communication somewhere in the description. So the first thing that you need to rebuild as well is the trust with yourself, because very often when the question is about trust, there's an element of trusting yourself. Because when you're jealous to the extreme, you will prevent being in healthy relationships. And this is probably why you're watching this video. You know by experience that being too jealous, that being overly possessive, pushed your partner away and created toxic dynamic. So the way to overcome this is to, in a way, have a contract with yourself, trusting yourself that you can do it, and following through. Very often we feel, okay, I'm not going to tell him, I'm not going to speak, I'm not going to argue with my partner. And then when we are triggered, because we don't do the work of analyzing those triggers, we don't do the work of emotional regulation, we don't do the work to link those thoughts with our belief system, and then we let go. We lash at our partner, we argue, and that creates tension, and we're back to square one. And so it's about setting up healthy boundaries. So on one end, it's about how you can self-regulate, how you can really be more secure, and also discuss those things with your partner. Understand that they need their time, understand that, there's also an element of control. A relationship is a battle of ego, is a battle of control. So it's finding the right balance between being too controlling and being completely uncommitted in the relationship. If you have any question about this topic, or if you want more videos on relationship, on jealousy, let me know in the comment section. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.